Hello everyone, this is Professor Reimer. This video is a reteach of our Unit 3 DOL 3 lesson on the spread of Islam. Remember, our objective that day was to explain the political, economic, and social impact of Islam on Europe, Asia, and Africa by writing a contextualization statement. So what I've done, as I've always done, is gather some examples of contextualization statements at each of the levels of our DOL criteria rubric so that you can see how I'm grading your contextualization statements. So let's review the criteria again for contextualization. Must relate the topic of the prompt to broader historical events, developments, or processes that occur before, during, or continue after the time frame of the question. This point is not awarded for merely a phrase or reference, which is why I say 3 to 4 sentences, and you're giving the background. What information does a reader need to know in order to understand your argument? How do you do that? Well, you look at the prompt. In this case, to what extent did the spread of Islam impact Africa in the period 600 to 1450? And you zero in on the key terms in that prompt, something your reader is probably not going to know. And hint, hint, they're often proper nouns. In this case, Islam. And you see Africa there, but in this case, because your thesis is about the spread of Islam, that's really what needs to be explained. So here's the thesis. The spread of Islam significantly impacted Africa in the period 600 to 1450 CE by introducing a new kind of government to the region and by connecting it to more trade routes. Guys, I hope you're seeing these examples of thesis statements and noting like what a good thesis statement looks like, because soon I'm not going to be giving them to you and you're going to have to be writing them as well. But training wheels are still on, so I'm still giving them to you. All right, here are some of the examples, and remember, I gave you an example to use. So here's our beginning understandings. Remember, these are the students not earning a passing score. Islam's history on the African continent is rich, more than a millennium of expansion, scholarship, conquest, empire, and theological development. The historical impact of Islam upon trade, particularly in West Africa, greatly increased the wealth of African people and helped form many great African empires. So why only beginning? Well, it's short. It's only 2 sentences. It doesn't really tell me much about Islam. It tells me some about the impact of Islam, but that's the thesis statement, is the impact. In a contextualization statement, you need to go back in time before the events of the prompt to provide the background. So for that reasons, beginning. All right, here's another example. In the 6th century CE, a new religion called Islam arose in the Arabian Peninsula of Southwest Asia. My beginning sentence. Its founder and prophet Muhammad taught that the ethical guidelines and laws by which the followers of Allah are to live. Yeah, but what are they? His followers should obey. Should obey what? This to be honest was so close to being emerging, but there's just not much information here of background about Islam. So not enough to count as a passing score. Here's what is. Islam promoted trade between West Africa and the Mediterranean. That's very true. The religion developed and widened the trans-Saharan caravan trade. Also true. The trade enriched the West African and Muslim traders. Yes. Muslims from North Africa came in their numbers and settled in the commercial centers. Yes. Now, why is it only emerging? Because I don't see that connection to the thesis statement. And the student didn't even write the thesis statement. But a lot of background about the connection between Islam and the growth of trade in the region. So emerging, but just barely. All right, another example of emerging. The spread of Islam significantly impacted Africa in the period 600 to 1450 CE by introducing a new kind of government to the region and by connecting it to more trade routes. Again, I've said don't put the thesis first. You have to provide context first. Thesis goes at the end of the paragraph. Islam's mostly invaded West Africa. Yes. Bringing their religion and background with them. Yes. But tell me more about their religion and this background. You said it. Now give me more. Islam, upon trade, particularly in West Africa, greatly increased the wealth of African people and helped form many great African empires. This was a win-win for both, even some Africans converting to Islam. Yes, though I will note this phrase greatly increased the wealth of African people. This other student, word for word, included it up here. So it would appear that some borrowing has taken place, which is, again, okay if you are citing your sources and telling me where you're getting your information, and it needs to not be word for word. You need to put these contextualization statements in your own words. If you're just copying phrases that you're finding from a book or a website, it's not going to work. All right, here's a proficient. This one was really good. In the 6th century CE, a new religion called Islam arose in the Arabian Peninsula of Southwest Asia. Its founder and prophet, Muhammad, taught that there is only one all-powerful God and that they must submit to him. Again, what have I said about pronouns? Don't use them. So that's my one complaint with that sentence. Otherwise, fantastic contextualization sentence. His followers are known as Muslims. Oh, it's beautiful. Yes, that worship an Arabic God. Arabic is a religion, so I'm not sure what the student meant there, but again, it's proficient, not perfect, and are to live in complete submission to their God. Yes, it's great. The spread of Islam significantly impacted Africa in the period 600 to 1450 CE by introducing a new kind of government to the region and by connecting it to more trade routes. It's wonderful, proficient. Now, what would have gotten it to advanced? Right here, if the student had gone on to mention something about how the followers began to spread the religion through conquest, through missionary work, that would have been that link between their living in submission to their God and why are they in Africa. So that would have been that would have gotten the student to advanced understanding. But a wonderful, proficient contextualization statement. These are your targets. That's what you're aiming for, guys. Work hard, and I'll see you in class.